Welcome to the Larimer SBDC's on-demand series for artists. Today we're going to be talking about your website. My name is Brandon Lee, and what I'd like to present to you today is some information about what you should consider when you're building your website, what's important, and what are the things that you need to really take into heart whenever you're considering this undertaking of getting your business online and really starting to drive traffic and converting users to customers on your website. Again, my name is Brandon Lee. I am the owner of Edison Apps. We're a digital marketing agency focused on small business solutions. Our goal is to really help propel small businesses in solving problems for them, whether it's real world, being connected to their digital world, creating websites, mobile applications, SEO, or small business marketing for Facebook, Google advertisements. Our purpose today is to really go over, what is it that you need to do and what do you need to consider whenever you're going to have a digital presence for your business. The top four things that we're going to discuss today are really, we're going to start with discussing what's in a domain name. How do you pick your domain name? What are the considerations you should be thinking of as you're looking at not only your domain, but the usernames across all of your social media or digital asset platforms? How do you secure digital assets? What's important here? Why would you need to make sure that you have digital assets available to you so that you can begin running advertisements to drive traffic to your website? And then as you're considering building your website, do you DIY it and do it yourself? Or do you hire a website developer? And what are the things that we need to consider whenever we're thinking of doing this undertaking of doing it ourselves or just hiring a professional to build it for us? And then lastly, we'll talk about, creating brand awareness ads. And this is really where you're going to start to drive traffic and use the digital assets that you created previously to begin getting people to your website and to understand not only that your company exists, but all of the products and services and things that you offer. So when you're picking your company's domain, what are the things that you need to consider? Number one, I consider consistency to be the highest priority for companies or artists as they're picking their business's name. And the reason I think consistency is important is that, you want to have a domain name that you can use across all of your social media assets or digital assets. You don't want to have a bunch of different disconnected names that drive people to your assets where they might not make sense or they might not be really clear as to, yes, this is you, this is the original you, and it's not somebody trying to basically steal their information or basically spoof your company to do underhanded, nefarious things. So the other thing that you want to consider is name availability. So we have some resources you can use to check name availability. So this way you're being able to, prior to making your domain name purchase, know what names are available so that you can make sure you have that consistency and that limited friction across all of your digital assets. And then lastly, simplicity. A lot of times we have a really long URL names, but the simplest version of that domain with the usernames is going to be the easiest, because as you start to add, names in front of emails, those domain names start to get really long and people have to either remember that or you have the potential for people to misspell things. So the simpler, the better whenever it comes to not only your domain, but also your usernames that you're using across your digital assets. So let's talk about some do's and don'ts. Handful of things that you want to do. Number one, again, be consistent across all platforms. An example that we like to use is, if I purchase the domain name myargylesocks.com, I want to make sure that I can use Argyle Socks or My Argyle Socks company, whatever that domain is. I want to use that on Facebook as my Facebook business page. I want to use it as my Instagram handle. I want to use it as my Twitter handle. I want to make sure that I can have a Pinterest page with that name. I want to lock down any other industry specific social media assets with that exact same name. I want to make sure I'm using that as my email. One of the biggest mistakes that we see our new customers come into us with is that they're not using a branded email account. They're using their @Gmail or @Yahoo or @Outlook. And as you're starting to do business, especially if you're looking at doing higher dollar volume business, you want to make sure that, if your products are expensive, people get that branded experience. That not only is a very simple way to present yourself as professional, but also they know that you're spending the time. It costs $6 a month on Google for you to be able to have a branded email. That you're spending the time and energy to present the best version of your business to your either potential clients or existing clients. You do not want to mix and match names. Using the name like My Argyle Socks Company, if that was my .com, and then I went to Facebook and I had Brandon's Argyle Socks, and then on Instagram it was My Argyle Socks _90, and then Twitter was Argyle Socks by Brandon. If I did that, customers that are coming to those social media platforms are not going to understand if this is really me or if it's a fake account. So that's going to create some obstacles in order to close sales, but also it's going to create doubt in their mind that this is legit. So you want to make sure as much as you can, you want to use a consistent name across all platforms. Something else is you're getting into buying your domain names. There are some domain top level domains that you want to avoid. .xyz is one, .info is one. Those are highly spammed platforms or domains. And what you want to do is, don't buy those for your primary domain. Don't even buy those for any secondary domains that you're going to use, because Google won't rank those. If you're trying to, if you're in a highly competitive industry or market and you need to rank high on SEO, whether it's organic or paid, if you're on one of those top level domains that Google has deemed as spammy, you will not rank. .org is usually reserved for clubs or nonprofit organizations. .com, .net, .biz. There's a bunch of different .coms that are, top level domains that are like .artists that you can use that are, if you can't find your domain within that .com top level domain, you can find it within one of the other ones. And you can find that on Google as well. We have some tools for you to be able to check these names. And that's if you go to namechecker.com or namecheck. You can even look at domains.google.com. I prefer to use domains.google.com for our purchasing domains because they include privacy for free with your domain purchase. It's $12 a year to have the domain registered through Google. They automatically include privacy. They can let you do automatic renewals. You can buy it yearly, 3 years, every 5 years. And then if you buy your domain on Google and you're going to use Gmail as your Google email or as your business email, it's only $6 a month and it's already set up. If you enable the Google Workspace, you can use, there's 3 different versions of it. The cheapest one is usually the best, which is just standard. Again, it's $6 a month per user. You can have that domain. You can set it up. You also get with that about 100 email aliases, which you can use to set up your social media accounts. You can use it for forwarding emails to you from different parts of your website once that's built, or different platforms, so you can sort of track where information's coming from. And those are all included within your domain purchase on Google. The platforms for Namechecker and Namecheck, those are 2 different sites, but you can type in the URL that you want to use, and you don't have to put .com or anything there. You can just type in, like My Argyle Socks Company. And when I search, it will tell me all of the platforms that are available: Reddit, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of the different platforms, Pinterest, YouTube, any of the platforms that are important to you for your industry, they will show up there. And your best bet is to try to find, be creative, present a couple of different versions of that name to find one where you can get all of the ones that are important to you locked down. And once you do that, the next thing you want to do is purchase that domain. You can purchase it on Google Domains, Bluehost, GoDaddy, whatever the domain provider you choose. All of them have different price points. All of them have different options based on how you log into it, what your privacy information is there. When you keep your informational, the privacy enabled, what ends up happening is they just provide like a dummy platform that it just has a bunch of dummy information that's registered. It's not your personal information. If you don't keep that privacy there, you have to register with your name, your email, your physical address, and your phone number, and you start to get a bunch of spam. So it's great to have that, keeping your personal information out of the public eye and really keeping, whatever type of privacy protections you can enabled. And again, through Google, it's included, and it's only $12 a year per domain that you purchase. Now, once you've locked down that domain, you would say, okay, I'm going to use this domain for all of for my email and for my website. I'm going to go and lock down all of the usernames on the social media platforms. So what you want to do is set up your branded email. You can use an email alias if you want, which is like an info at or sales at or social at, whatever type of alias you want to use, or you can use your name at the branded email account that you're using. You go through Facebook, you go through Instagram, all of the different social media platforms that you're going to use for your business, and you secure the page names or the usernames, the handles for those platforms. If you're doing it on Facebook, you might need to get 10 or 25 likes before it will actually let you change the username. So in that case, I'd recommend sending it to, friends or family, people that you trust, to come like that page, and then you can immediately lock down that username. Again, it just depends on how many Facebook pages you're already a member of or an admin on to what that will look like for you. I basically have the ability to do it immediately because I manage about 70 Facebook pages. So I have some different allocations to me and based on when I can do it. But if it's the very first time you've done this, you'll want to make sure that whatever they give you as a limit to 10 or 25 before they'll let you make the change, you get that done and do it immediately. And the reason that we say do that immediately is because what you don't want to have happen is once you register your domain and your information's out there, there are people that scrub those domain registration roles daily. And we've seen this happen in the past where the bad actors will go out and they will lock down the usernames on your domain before you get a chance to do it. And then they will happily sell that to you. Or you have to end up making a change and change your domain to something that's available. But a lot of times the bad actors that are out there, the people that just want to kind of take advantage of the opportunities that are there for people that might not be on top of the locking down the usernames, they will do that. The other thing is you also can consider buying domains that are near your name or similar because your competitors can buy those domain names and then forward them to their website. There's nothing illegal about that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a strategy that people use. So you want to make sure that if there's a similar or like maybe a commonly misspelled name, you lock that domain name down as well, and then you forward that to your main domain. And then being visible in your industry. We're going to talk through, how you would go about doing that and why it's important that you want to make sure you're visible on the platforms that your customers and that the other businesses or your competitors are on, so that you're actually visible there as well. So with your branded email, one of the things you can do if you're just doing it on domains.google.com, it'll immediately ask you if you want to set up Google Workspace. You can, or you can skip it. But again, they give you 100 email aliases, and I highly recommend you use these email aliases to your advantage. They can forward to either the branded domain that you have, your branded email, or you can forward them outside of that to any other email account that you want. But the way that you would want to use these strategically for your business is if you have a contact form that's on your website, or if you have blog posts or something that you're doing where you want to kind of track, are people seeing this? Are they engaging with this? Are they signing up for something? You can set up, any number of emails, attach them to forms or whatever it is that you're doing to get data. So like, oh, look, I got 25 emails from this form because it came from contact at, or, you have your socials. Anytime something's going on with your social media accounts, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, if you have like socials at your branded email, your URL, when those emails come in, you'll know immediately that something's going on those social accounts, as opposed to clogging up your regular branded email, with your name at your branded email account, clogging them up with those types of messages. You can start to funnel the information. It just makes it so you can work smarter and not harder as you're trying to cipher through information, things that are available to you. So I highly recommend you use those. They're free and they're really effective in getting all of the things that you need sort of sectioned out as you get started. And it's really easy to do it right from the get-go, as opposed to doing it later and trying to then funnel things and change things around. So as you're just setting up and buying your domain, makes a lot of sense to just create some email aliases there and set up that Google Workspace if you're doing it on Google. You can use Google Workspace on any of the other domain hosts as well. When you're looking at like GoDaddy, or any of the other providers, you just have to add the DNS records for Google on those platforms to make sure that it's fully integrated and that your emails aren't going to spam, and that you're actually receiving emails from people emailing you on your branded email account. So again, when we're talking about securing usernames, you want to use that branded email to secure your social accounts. You don't want to use the @Gmail or @Outlook as much as you can. Once you lock down that domain, anything you do regarding your business, you want to use your branded email. And whatever industry specific platforms you're going to use that branded email or that email alias that you're using to lock those names down. And then think about what platforms your customers are on. You want to meet them where they already are, right? You don't want to try to coerce them to come to a new platform. You want to know, okay, well, where are the people that I want to engage with, that I want to potentially convert to customers? What platforms are they currently using? And the way you can find that out, if you just go to Google, type in best social media platform for artists, for whatever vertical you're looking at. When you search that, there'll be a list of just pages of here's the best social media platforms. And you can look through, some of the highly regarded domains that you can look at for this information would be like The Hoth, SEMrush, HubSpot. Those are marketing platforms that really do the due diligence. They search, they find this information, they do polls and find where customers are based on verticals. You can look at that and then make the best decisions for, not only which platforms your customers are already on, but also which platforms are you going to excel at? Which platforms are you actually going to spend time on? One mistake that a lot of folks make is, they'll sign up on 7 to 10 different platforms because they know their customers or potential customers are there and they want to engage with them. But then they don't really do a great job of engaging on that platform. Your best bet is to pick 2 or 3 at most. Maybe 1 or 2 is best to get started and really focus on creating solid engagement there, creating good, consistent content that you're posting to drive that engagement, to drive that brand awareness about your company or your business or your artistry. And then once you start to get that locked down and you start to grow and you get in a rhythm, you can then add some additional platforms. But don't feel like you have to be everywhere for everybody, because if you don't do a great job, you actually kind of get dinged because you're not only your engagement's going to be down, but the way that your customer sentiment feels on that platform about your business is going to be negative because maybe you're not engaging as much as all of the other competitors of yours are. So make sure that you pick the ones that are the highest performing platforms for your vertical, and that the ones that you're actually interested in engaging on. If maybe social media is not your thing, maybe just pick one. And then just try to be consistent, try to use the tools that are available there on that platform, so that you can be visible, you can be where your competitors are, but also you're doing a great job in putting content there and engaging. And what I recommend is that you go through and research your competitors. Take your top 3 competitors, Google them. Find out where are they at. You can type in their URL. You can just Google their name. You can see exactly in that search engine results page, what platforms are they on? It'll have their website. It'll have their Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is that they're most known for will pop up on that first page of the search engine results pages. Go to their website. Take a look at what it looks like. How well is it done? Are they using a branded email whenever you go to a contact page? Are they using branded emails? Because if you're going to compete with these folks, with these other businesses, you have to be very similar to what they're doing you need to present yourself in the same professional manner or better professional manner than they are. You also want to look at, before you start building your website, as you're searching your competitors, what search terms are driving traffic to their websites? Are they running Google ads? You can type in things like, maybe it's digital artists near me, if you're doing digital art, and you can see who's pulling up and what those terms are that's driving people to those websites. So you want to make sure you'll see if they're running advertisements, they'll pop up in the very top of the search engine results pages with an ad. So then that's something for you to consider as well. Do you need to run ads to be competitive in this vertical? And it depends on, again, your industry, the specific vertical that you're looking at and the customer segment you're looking at, what type of keywords you're going to need to use, and if you're going to need to run Google or social media advertisement to actually get traction and be visible within those search engine results pages. Now, once you've got all of your domain, name locked down. You've got your usernames locked down for your social media platforms and digital assets. Now you need to decide, how are you going to build your website? Are you going to DIY it and just do it yourself? Or are you going to hire a website developer to develop it for you? Some things to consider here, as you're thinking about building your website, you really need to understand, like, what is the purpose of your website? I think that there are really four main categories for the purpose of your website and what you need to consider. Number one, your website should be a platform that informs and educates the consumers. It not only tells them what your mission and vision is, maybe what your social impact is potentially going to be, but what is it that you do? How do you do it? Why are you revered for doing what you do? This is where the education, maybe it's a specific type of art or product that you offer, that they need to understand a little bit more about it before they're be able to make a buying decision. So you're informing them about who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you do it, and then you're educating them further, if needed, on what's very unique about what you're doing or the process that you emulate, things that they might not find anywhere else because it's unique to you, or it's a newer type of process in what you're doing. It's also presenting yourself. It's presenting your brand. Hey, this is who we are. It's our mission, our vision. This is our social impact statement. This is what we're doing to change sort of the community or the world around us in using our art or our artistry in specific industries or verticals. This is where you tell them how you do it. This is where you get them to become either raving fans of yours or new customers by making purchases for your products or services. This is also where you generate leads. As you're running digital advertisements, whether it's on Google or social media, this is where you drive traffic to one of your landing pages for specific works of art, for specific products or services that you're going to offer. This is where all of that takes place. This is where you start to gather data on who your target audience is, who's coming to your website, who's engaging with your brand. All of these things are going to be where you're capturing this information as what they call first party data, because they're coming to the URL that you own. Now you own that customer information. You own how they interact with your website, where they've come from, what their contact information is, if you're collecting that. The last thing that you're doing on your website is, the website should build trust. This is, again, why it's important to have a consistent URL and username across all platforms, because people can know and trust that this is who you are. This is, if they have to revert to your URL and then click on one of the icons for a social media platform, they know it's pulling up the real you. You can't get spoofed this way. You want to make sure that, your information is secure, that the customer's information is secure as they come onto your website. So this is really, highly important whenever you're asking, again, if it's a high ticket item where it has a high dollar value. Trust is insanely important for them to be able to know that, yes, if I'm putting my credit card information on your website to purchase this product or this service, that they can trust that it's not going to be compromised, or that it's even just you, as it's your real site. So some considerations when you're thinking about DIYing your website. The top one is, there are platforms out there for you to use that are just drag and drop. It's like what you see is what you get, editors. And those are like Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, Webflow are some really good high performing platforms for you to use. The things that you need to consider are, how tech savvy are you? Can you understand how to get the website built in a really user-friendly way so that there's a nice consistent experience that is in line, if not better than your competitors? What is your timeline? Do you have time to learn how to use this platform to add the content and to create everything that you need for your website to be polished and launched in that time frame that you need it to be done? Again, how complex does your website need to be? Are you booking appointments? Are you, taking one-off purchases, or are you booking like subscriptions? Or, what is it that you're selling or that you need to be able to collect data from your customers? How complex is that? And can you do the things you need to do on this done DIY platform to make sure that you can be effective? You also need to look at, how competitive is the market that you're in? If your websites of your competitors are really good and they're really slick and they look like an artist's website that's like a top performing artist, that's a consideration that maybe DIYing it is not the thing to do, right? If maybe there's not a lot of websites that are out there that for your competitors, and you can come to to get started and start driving revenue, start with a DIY website and then ultimately plan to have someone develop it for you. The other thing is, SEO. Can you create a good SEO, just initial SEO launch, so that you can end up in search engine results pages? If your market's really competitive and you have a bunch of artists that are doing a lot of the same work that you're doing and it's highly competitive, you might have to hire an SEO professional to get your website so that you rank, so you're not having to spend a fortune on Google advertisements to rank in the search engine results pages. And then, when you think about how you're marketing your business or your artistry, how important is your website to that marketing mix? Is it going to be where you're driving traffic to it so that people can book appointments with you, or, book custom work, or just buy existing art pieces that you have? If that's going to be an important piece, it might be worth a consideration of starting with a DIY, but ultimately having somebody develop the website for you. When you think about, hiring a developer, what is your budget, right? So, you kind of get what you pay for whenever you're looking at hiring a developer. You want to make sure that whatever platform that you're using, that developer can develop on that. WordPress, Shopify, and BigCommerce are really, you really probably should hire a developer if you're working on these platforms. Shopify can be done pretty easily with their sort of bland templates that they provide. It's sort of just like the vanilla template that comes with Shopify. If you don't have a bunch of customizations that you need in the look and feel of the website and how it operates, Shopify you can do as a DIY, but I highly recommend, if you want some customization, if you really want to optimize what you're doing, you should consider hiring a developer on any of these three platforms. The next thing is, you need to think about what are the technical integrations that you have. Do you need to have like a booking plugin? Do you need to have specific SEO plugins, or maybe it's a WooCommerce is the e-commerce version for WordPress. Do you need that plugin? Do you need that integrated into the website? So all of the things that you need to consider are basically the limits to your technical savvy, as well as what you need the website to accomplish to be in, the same competitive level as your competitors. So as you're creating that, the last thing is, who's going to be updating the website? Who's going to be updating the content? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be a developer? Do you have the budget to be able to pay for that? On the DIY platforms, you can update all that content very easily on your own. If you're looking at WordPress, Shopify, with some training, you can do it. But also, again, you've got to think about your timeline and can you learn these things within the time frame you need to get this launched. So these are the things you need to consider as you're going into, building either a DIY website or hiring a developer for your website. And then once you've figured that out, you've gotten your website built, you've got your domains for your social media platforms are all locked down, you've got content going to them. The next thing is, what do you need to do to get people to know you exist? A lot of my clients or clients that come to us, they don't understand the effectiveness of brand awareness. They're like, well, I've got my website up and, I posted it on Facebook, but I'm not getting any traffic. And that's because consumers don't really know that you exist. They don't know that your website's there unless you tell them that it's there. And the easiest, most cost-effective way to do that is to run some Facebook advertisements. Whenever you're doing that, you can run Facebook and Google ads if you'd like, but Facebook gives you a really robust platform for advertising on Instagram and Facebook, if that's where your audience lives. You can do Pinterest ads that they run the same similar way, or LinkedIn ads if you're looking to connect with other businesses. There's really a version of Facebook brand awareness advertisements available on almost every platform. But Facebook's really good because you can target exactly who you want, whether it's in a geolocation that you're looking at, or if it's specific demographics for your audience. TikTok is another one. If you're showing the process and how you do your art or how you create your products or services, TikTok is a really great way for short form videos to run advertisements to people to drive traffic again to your website. The last consideration for this is that you do not want to just send people to your homepage. If you run any type of brand awareness advertisements, you want to create a landing page for those advertisements. This is going to really help you track. Let's say, for instance, you have Facebook ads, Google ads, and TikTok ads. You don't want to send them all to the same page. You want to create a very specific landing page for each of those. The audiences are going to be vastly different on those because the people that are using Facebook ads versus people that are using TikTok as a platform, they're going to be different. So you want to speak to them in the way that that audience is going to resonate with your message. So Facebook ads, you'll have a specific home or a landing page for that based on whatever that product or service is. Same thing with your Google ads. And then you go and you use Google Analytics and the analytics within each of those platforms to tell you how those people are getting there. What are they doing when they're on the website? And then the last thing is you really want to make sure you collect at least a first name and an email address of the people that you're advertising to. So when you run these advertisements, you want to collect some kind of data. So provide something of value to them for free so that you can get their name and email so that you can market to them in the future. It's really important to be able to collect that, again, first party data so that you can use it in your marketing efforts and advertising campaigns later. The more first party data you have as we go into this really revolution in privacy changes, the better off your business will be because it's people that are engaging with you specifically. So as you consider those things and you have questions or you're not sure maybe what the next step to do, you can feel free to contact us. And, my name again is Brandon Lee. This is Edison Apps. We are consultants. Our company consults with the Larimer SBDC, and you can contact them to get appointments scheduled for discussing your website needs, your marketing needs, how you do different things. There's a lot of resources with the Larimer SBDC. If you just go to their website and sign up, you want to make sure that you're getting the information you need to make your business as successful as possible. We can't thank our sponsors enough for helping provide the sustainability for the Larimer SBDC in being able to provide these business services to our local businesses. So again, thank you for joining us in this presentation today. This is again the on-demand series for artists. We hope you have a great time and reach out to us with any of your future needs. Thank you.